each of us. May we forever be grateful for your mercy and for your grace. Now, Lord, that we ask that you will be in the midst of this meeting. Give us all a listening ear to receive what is to be said. Give us a heart for compassion and the wisdom and knowledge to make the right decisions. These blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council, citizens. Tonight we begin our second round of interviews for candidates for Chief of Police, City of Darlington. For those who weren't here last night, we interviewed two fine candidates. We talked with Kelvin Washington, who's the current Marshal of the state of South Carolina, and also with James Hudson, who works with Lee County Sheriff's Department as former Police Chief of the City of Hartsville. Tonight we have two more candidates. First, we have Captain Julius Riley from Sherrall Police Department and Lieutenant Kimberly Nelson from the Darlington City Police Department. Just a reminder about this evening, we will entertain questions from the audience, and then the Mayor and Council will ask questions. We ask that you keep your questions as they relate to the career service of the people involved. So if Captain Riley, you have a question about his service with Sherrall Police Department, that's fine. Have a question about what Lieutenant Nelson could do for City of Darlington Police Department, please ask that, but please no personal attacks. Please nothing that's below the belt. We're all here in good faith, and we want the best person we can get for City of Darlington, and we're hoping to introduce you to these folks, and you get to know them better, and they get to know you better. And we've got some folks here from out of town. For those who are here from Sherrall, we welcome you. Just a 30-mile short drive south here. For those who are here supporting Lieutenant Nelson, thank you so much. For those who are here with the Darlington Police Department, thank you. Our first person this evening has 26 years of law experience, and he's currently working as administrative captain for the City of Sherrall Police Department. He's been instrumental in restructuring his current department and updating departmental policy to seek statewide accreditation and developing community outreach programs such as community crime watch zones and National Night Out. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice Business Administration from Liberty University Online of Lynchburg, Virginia, and a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Arts Studies from the University of South Carolina, Columbia. He also served as a Marine Corps reservist, served in Desert Storm and Desert Shield. He's pastor of Harvest Blessings Ministries Incorporated and a member of the Southern State Police Benevolent Association and a member of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of Florence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Captain Julius Riley.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you all for coming out. I'm not sure exactly how the program is supposed to go right now. Would you like me to tell me a little bit about myself?
You disguise the limit. This is your chance to shine. Okay. Talk about your time. How about talk about your time in Sherrall? Sherrall is much a small town just like Darlington. You have lots of similarities. Anything you feel like would be relevant to you being considered as the Chief of Police for the City of Darlington?
Okay. Sherrall is a town, as Mr. Garland said, very similar to Hartsville. It is very community oriented. Our police department at Sherrall is very service oriented. That is what we're there for, to serve the community. Of course, everyone knows that police officers are law enforcement officers, but more than that, we're peace officers. And that's what we drive into the mind frame of our officers there, to serve the community, and to be part of the community. I've spent the last 26 years of my law enforcement career with the Sherrall Police Department trying to make sure that we do just that, to treat everyone equally under the law. And the only way that you can do that is to have that message set firmly from the top all the way to the bottom man. So tonight, I'm glad to be here for this opportunity. If there be any questions or anything you would like to ask me about, please feel free to do so this time.
Talk about how you rose through the ranks of the Sherrall Police Department and what you did at each step along the way, so citizens and council and mayor have an understanding of your career in law enforcement.
When I joined the Sherrall Police Department in 1992, the culture there was not as it should have been. We had a chief that was very abrasive. chief that would not mind yelling at you, cursing you out. We had officers that did things their own way. So you had to make a decision early on as to what type of police officer you wanted to be. What I did, I took my time and I looked at the officers. I saw the ones that were doing good jobs, that were being progressive, and that wanted to do things the right way. And what I did is I aligned myself with them and gleaned from each one of them and sort of fashioned that into my modus operandi. That's how I function as a police officer. I continued to put my nose to the grindstone and do what was right and work hard. In the span of 3 years, a promotion became available for sergeant and lieutenant. I thought to myself, this would be a good opportunity to get some experience, just to try it out and see. So I put my best foot forward, I tried it out. The chief called me in and we talked, and then he tossed me a badge across the desk. I was so excited. I thought to myself, I made sergeant in 3 years. That's great. Then I looked at the badge and saw the words lieutenant on it. And honestly, I looked back at him and I said, Chief, you gave me the wrong badge. And he looked at me and said, no, I didn't. He said that you're what we need right now. That was one of the worst days of my law enforcement career, because I spent the last 3 years learning from guys who had been there, guys who had experience, learning from the ones who were also in this promotion proceeding, to know now that they would not only not be promoted, but that I now would be their supervisors. It bothered me. I went home and I didn't say a word to anyone. And I got some very good advice from a captain, Captain Shoemate, who passed just last year. He told me, he said, Julius, let them say what they're gonna say, let them talk back, let them quibble. He said, but don't react to it. He said, you just do your job and give them time. And once that time is passed, they'll come around. I followed his advice, and that's exactly what happened. Years later, I continued to do the same thing. I learned so much from Captain Shoemake and, at the time, Lieutenant Lee, who later became captain. When my time came to test for the promotion of captain, I was successful. As captain, I became responsible for all the shifts, for personnel management. I became responsible for the jail. I became responsible for quite a few things. As administrative captain, there's building maintenance. There is, again, the officer, the fleet officer, not only the maintenance, but sometimes counseling, scheduling, all of our special events that we have going on in Cheraw. After hours events, I also schedule those as well. As administrative captain, I'm so glad that our chief did not want our relationship to be like the relationship that he had with the former chief. There wasn't any. It was non-existent. So he decided purposely that our relationship would be a different type. So he has allowed me to function in many ways that as an administrative captain in other places maybe I would not have been able to with the assistance of, he's allowed me to hire, he's allowed me to discipline, he's allowed me to terminate, he's allowed me to assist in grants, he's allowed me to assist, and not only assist, but to take over our policy and procedures manual and make sure that that was up to date and now applying for state accreditation. He's tasked me with quite a few things, like I said, building maintenance, jail, the list goes on and on. And because of the situation, my mind is running 1,000 miles an hour, and I can't remember them all right now. But that is a brief synopsis of my career with Cheraw Police Department.
How about talk about your time in the United States Marine Corps and that experience? What was that like for you?
It was a good experience. When I joined the Corps, I became an 1811, which is an armored crewman, a tanker. We would drill once a month, and for 2 weeks out of the year, we'd have what we call ATD, annual training duties, where we would apply our skills in different settings, different states, California, Florida, Virginia. We were originally scheduled to do cold weather training in Wisconsin, when we got activated to participate in Desert Storm, and which later transformed into Desert Shield. We spent about 9 months over there. We went in initially as a support unit, but that got upgraded to an active unit that would engage Kuwaiti troops and Iraqi troops. So anyway, we moved toward the front line and we engaged like everyone else and participated in that 3-day war. It was 3 days, night and day, but thanks be to God, most of us made it back okay.
You talked a little bit about in your resume about establishing a neighborhood crime watch zone, and establishing a zone and a place for monthly meetings. Just because this dovetails directly into the charge that's been given to staff by mayor and council to accentuate community and neighborhood policing in the city of Darlington.
Well, what was going on in Sherrod, we had problems with our juveniles. We were having problems with not only our juveniles, but juveniles and people from out of state, from North Carolina, since we're so close to the state line. This persisted for quite a while, and different neighborhoods and community meetings began to take place. They expressed to the mayor, the police chief, myself, that they wanted to do something about it. They wanted to see what could be done. In talking with them, we established a community crime watch. We started the initial one with myself being over that one at the Foundry Hill area. That was a very, I'd say, high crime area, but we had mostly citizens there that were older, and they didn't feel safe anymore. So we began our crime watch meeting there at one of the local churches. As we began that, we soon established other crime watch areas. Now we're up to 4. And we're doing well. We have monthly meetings. We discuss and we let them know what has been going on in their area, what to look for. All of them have my number, and they've been instructed to call me anytime, 24/7, day or night. It does not matter. If there's something going on, I want to know about it. That's the only way we can do something about it. So they've been very good about that, and we've been working together to keep this going. We've posted signs up in the different areas to let people know that these are crime watch areas. And as I told them, the signs themselves will do no good if they don't participate. The sign cannot call anyone. The sign cannot run anyone off or notify the police. So they've been very receptive to that. The different areas, and since we've instigated these crime watch zones, we've seen a noted decrease in vandalisms and car thefts. We've seen a noted decrease in even shootings and assaults. So it is working, and they are getting their neighborhoods back, and they feel good about it. And that was just one of the things that we established to reach out to the community and establish that link and that relationship with the community.
After 26 years of service to the town of Sherrod, why are you looking to leave Sherrod?
That's a good question. While we were in the midst of doing the community meetings and speaking with the various entities in the community, the mayor made it known that I would be the next chief, because people had heard rumors that our current chief may be leaving us, and he wanted to sort of calm the fears and the concerns and just let them know that I would be the next chief. Our chief had also made it known to the mayor that in the upcoming sheriff's election, which they'll have to file for this March, that he would be seeking the office of sheriff. So therefore he would be leaving, and he wanted to assure the community that they would still be in good hands. Well, around December, I think the 16th or the 17th, we had our annual Christmas dinner, and the chief announced that he would not be seeking the office of mayor. And we talked about it later, the office of sheriff. And we talked about it later, and he said, listen, I know that sort of throws your hopes, up in disarray. And, he explained to me the reasons why he made his decision. And I said, well, that's fine. So I had a decision to make, whether or not to retire or to continue on. I I decided to continue on to help him make the department and our community the best that it could be. So after that, about a week later, I received a phone call from Sheriff Chavis, who informed me that there was an opening here for a police chief. The reason I applied here, I'm not leaving Sharon in any type of bad circumstances. The chief is well aware of what's going on. He's been in full support of the mayor, the town administrator. So I couldn't ask for better conditions to try to spread my wings right now. And what I want to do is continue in my career, but I want to continue to grow. I don't want to be stalemated and just locked into one place and one level the rest of my career. So for that reason, I applied for the job of Chief of Police here at Darlington.
You're pastor of Harvest Blessings Ministries Incorporated. What does that mean to you, and what does that mean to the folks that you preach to?
Well, as far as what that means to me, it means a lot. I'm the watcher of their souls. I pray for them constantly. I try to lead them in the ways prescribed by the Bible. We laugh together, we cry together, we grow together, and it means a lot. It's a family, and as anyone who's close to their church family knows and understands, it becomes a big part of your life. As far as them, I would hope that they feel the same way. I don't want to presume to speak for anyone, but we are a close-knit family. We've been through a lot together, and you know, we'll always be there in support of each other.
You mentioned that you were instrumental in restructuring the Sherrall Police Department, departmental policy and augmenting policies and practices.
Yes, sir.
Specifically talk to that, and what is that process like for those who don't understand that?
Well, that is a very boring and laborious process. It involves many, many hours of combing over policies to make sure that you are up and current with current laws. Different laws and things change. They come down from different circuits. From our circuit, you might recall we had a change in the taser use of force policy when a mentally handicapped gentleman was tased, and he wound up dying from that. Well, we had to adjust our policies to fit with the laws that have been changed and came down from the Fourth Circuit. There are things that occur over time that sometimes policies don't tend to keep up with. For example, one of the policies that I instituted was a policy relating to our intake policy of our jail, how to deal and process transgender persons. And we do have individuals in our locale that identify themselves as transgender. Well, that presents a different set of circumstances. So we had to adjust with the times. But in reviewing the policies from beginning to end, there are things that needed to be updated that may not have been updated for quite a while. So I've done that, and now we are very much up to the current laws. Aside from that, we are aggressively pursuing accreditation, statewide accreditation, and that is very meticulous. So I've been working on that and in near completion, and so it's laborious. But the main thing about policies are no good if you don't follow them. So we have to make sure that all our officers are kept up to date as well, so that they know what we expect out of them, and they can comply.
I just have a couple more questions. If they hire you for this position, what are some of the ideas that you have to, I guess, better the morale of our police department and to do the steps to implement better community policing for everybody?
Well, I think I understand your question, but honestly, that'd be like asking a doctor, how would you diagnose this person without having examined them yet?
Right.
I would have to be able to come in and assess the situation and sit down, as you say, morale. Well, I'd have to meet with each and every officer, find out what the department is doing right, what they think the department is doing wrong, what motivates them to get up and come to work every day, and what deters them or just knocks the winds out of their sails, when they see something or experience something. So, while that may be something that has to be done, I can't honestly answer that now. I mean, of course, there are the general things I could say, oh, well, I'll get everybody a raise, or I'll do this or that. But, realistically, you have to sit down and see what the problem is first before you can fix it.
Right.
What was the second part of your question?
Like just the community policing as far as making sure that, say the historical district neighborhoods have community policing as well as some of the other neighborhoods that aren't so well known.
Yes, sir. Well, I believe I spoke earlier about equal protection under the law.
Right.
That means every neighborhood being patrolled. The nice neighborhoods and the not so nice neighborhoods. One thing about community policing is you can't build a relationship with the community simply cruising by with your window up and your radios on. There is nothing that stops an officer from stopping his patrol unit, getting out, walking up on someone's porch and having a conversation with them. How's your day been going? I'm Officer so-and-so, so-and-so. I was just in the neighborhood. Just wanted to check and make sure everything was okay. These type things do a lot for the community. One thing that I suggest as far as building a relationship with the community is building trust. You can't trust someone that you don't know. You have to know. And to do that, you have to spend time with them. You have to spend time with them. Listen, there are many times when police will interact with the community. All of it shouldn't be a negative situation. Many kids in the neighborhood, their first contact with police officers needs to be a positive one. And I believe that if we work together with the community, getting out, and here's another thing, I can't develop a relationship with the community sitting behind a desk all day. You would have to get out, even as the chief of police, and meet people. Go to their front porches, go to their living rooms, their kitchen tables, and sit down and have a conversation with them and find out what historically has been the problem with the police department. What historically have you seen the police department do that you really like? Just talk to them and find out. And then, of course, you have to go back and then, of course, talk to your officers and see what's going on. In other words, you have to understand the dynamic before you can do anything to really change it for the better. You can change it, but if you don't know which direction to move, you can wind up doing as much harm as you do good.
26 years, one department, that's probably 9,500 days, somewhere in that neighborhood. Tell me about the one day out of those 9,500 days that stands out the most in your career and why.
I can tell you this, just off the top of my head, that day was actually, wow, now I'm being flooded and inundated with a bunch of days, but let me choose one. And that day was actually a night. I was on patrol. I was a lieutenant at the time. We were on patrol, and you have to ride. One thing that gives me satisfaction is to feel as though people feel safe in their homes at night. I don't want anyone to have to worry about someone breaking into their homes or doing something to them. So we patrol religiously. And on this particular night, it was the winter time, and people are always, I say always, a lot of people burn wood. So you ride down with your windows down and you're smelling the air. Anyone that's done night patrol will know what I'm talking about. You sample the air, because there's a distinct difference between the smell of burning wood and an electrical fire. Because people use electrical heaters and things like that in the wintertime, you're always vigilant about something like that. Well, this one particular night, Captain Shoemake called me over to 52 North area in Cheraw, and there was a house with smoke billowing from out under the eaves, typical signifying that there was a fire inside. He and I knocked on the doors and the windows, then we went and we kicked the door in, and there was a man probably in his 30s, his wife and 3 children. We dragged them all out. They were unconscious, and that night we saved their lives. Was it in the paper? No, it wasn't in the paper. Did we get a medal for it? No. But I will never forget the feeling that I had knowing that someone's life was in my hands and we did the right thing at the right time. So that night stands out for me.
That's great. citizens in the community as far as if you were elected chief?
You know what, as far as awards and certificates and things, you know, it's great to get them, but can I just tell the truth? Those things don't mean a hill of beans when it comes to service. What I can offer the citizens of Darlington is a genuine, heartfelt compassion for their safety. Not only for their safety, but for their continued enjoyment of living in this city. There's a reason why each and every one of you chose to continue to make this your home. There must be something about it that you like. I, as the chief of police, would work to make sure that our department continued not only to maintain a professional level, because I'm convinced that y'all have some great officers. And, you know, regardless of what's been put in the papers and what's been said, Darlington Police Department has some great officers. All right? And many a times they don't get the recognition they deserve. But one thing that I would do is fight for them. And I'd stand up for them. If they did something right, I'd be the first one to tell them they did it right. If they did something that maybe was not so right, I'd be the first one to let them know that. And listen, we don't believe, or I don't believe in hiding things from anyone. Transparency, transparency, transparency. It has to be at the forefront of any police department. And that goes to trust again. How can you trust someone that doesn't tell you the truth? How can you trust someone that hides things from you? You can't. You know, what I want to bring is just a few things. I want to continue to push the department forward. I want to continue to push it forward to make a good department a great department. I want to continue with training. I want to continue with community work that bridges gaps between the police department and the community, so that when people see a police officer walking towards them on the sidewalk, they're not overcome with a sense of dread, but a smile sort of slowly comes on their face, and they say, "Hello, Officer Davis. Hey, Officer Purvis, how are you today?" And they can respond likewise. What I hope to bring to the department is a sense of accountability. If we do something that we shouldn't have done, own up to it, and then we'll move on. Police officers are people, they're going to make mistakes. But a lot of mistakes are learning experiences, and you can learn a lot from your mistakes. But the goal is to not continue to make them. You know, I just hope to bring a high level of ethics. Not saying that there aren't, you know, already ethical officers here. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I want that to be so grounded within the police department that when I say we will not treat people like this, and we don't treat people like that, that everyone knows that from the top to the very bottom man, and that guides them in every decision they make when they have contact with citizens. People need to be respected. You can do the law and respect people at the same time. That's what I hope to bring to Darlington. Yes, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Chief's gonna have to wear a lot of hats. Could you just talk to maybe 5 or 6 of those hats? A lot of times you're gonna wear all those hats in one day. Could you talk to maybe 5 or 6 of those real quick and how you would prioritize those?
Well, as the chief, you're right, you would have to wear many hats. I believe that one of the first hats that you have to wear is that of a father figure. You have to be the one that sets the pace for the department, because leadership, listen, leadership establishes a few things in the department. First of all, as a leader, you have to establish that you will operate under an air of respect. Respect for each other, your co-workers, and when you've established that and it's ingrained within the department, it's easy to transfer that respect out to the streets with respect for others. So that father figure type thing, I say that for a lot of reasons. Not only the institution of ideals and policies, but there are many times where you have to be a counselor as well, because these guys see a lot of things and experience a lot of things. It's not always easy to process. It's not always easy to flip the switch and leave it here and not take it home. There are some things that happen at home that may affect their work life. So as a police chief, you have to be able and have an open door policy and let them know that when they speak with you, it stays right there unless they choose to take it out. But what's said in the office stays in the office. They have to have that kind of trust in you. And when they come to you with a problem, do your very, very best to help them solve it. Because, let's face it, they're the backbone of any police department, not the chief. The men working under him, the officers, they're the backbone of the police department. So yes, you have to be disciplinary. Sometimes people are gonna do things that they shouldn't have done. And one of the, I tell you what, one of the toughest things to do is to discipline someone that you know may not have intended to do what they did, but you have to discipline them. And as far as that, I say this, and this is the way that I operate by. Be fair, be firm, and be consistent. You don't get a pass because there's a LT in front of your name. You don't get a pass because there's a captain's title in front of your name. We all have to be accountable. If I screw up, I'm gonna self-report, because that demonstrates that I believe everyone should operate on an air of accountability. We have to have that. We have to have discipline that's fair, firm, and consistent. Administrator, you have to be a good administrator. A chief that cannot get along with the council, that cannot get along with the city administrator, is a chief that will soon be unemployed. You can't do that. And the only way, I say the only way, one of the best ways that you can honestly fight for your men to get them, and please excuse me, I say men, I don't mean males, because I know there are many great female officers as there are male officers. That's just something I'm used to saying. So let me correct that. When you're fighting for your officers, you have to be able to work with the council. You have to be able to work with the city managers, with the mayor. Everyone has to work together, because this is not a chief of police show. One person cannot effectively bring about change. It takes a machine to do that, and a machine is made of many parts. So, you know, those are some of the things that, the hats that a chief wears, and that's how it happens.
Okay, you said you were in Sherrod, you were making progress with changes up there, with the chief is up there now. Why do you think that you could continue that as the chief of Sherrod instead of coming to Darlington to kind of start over here?
Okay. And I apologize when I told you the set of circumstances that brought me here. What I failed to include on that was when the chief made his announcement, he also stated that he would be staying indefinitely. So that pretty much closes the door for any opportunities for anyone to seek the office of chief in Sherrod, as long as he's doing a fantastic job. And so he will probably, you know, barring any unforeseen circumstances, he will probably be there for quite a while. So that's the answer to your question.
I wanted to, good evening.
Good evening.
Councilwoman Elaine Reed, representing Ward 2. And just looking at your resume, one of the things you've already kind of discussed was about your community crime watch zone. But I saw the National Night Out.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me about that, and have you been able to measure any kind of results?
Yes, ma'am, we have. When we began doing National Night Out, we did it under, I'm torn between. When we began to do National Night Out, we started under the former chief, before Chief Thomas. When we did that, and what National Night Out is, it is an opportunity for the community to come out and to meet its officers. The officers, they dress in blue jeans, and all of us have on the same type of shirt, easily identifying us as police officers. But we come out, we have speakers, local individuals from the community that come out and speak to the youth. We have music playing, we have the fire department there, we have jump houses, we have hot dogs and drinks, and the mayor, he speaks, some of the councilmen, And like I said, some of the people from the community. So what usually happens also is we rifle a TV and we rifle the latest gaming system for the children. When we first did National Night Out about, 5 years ago, we had a total of about 60 people participating. This past year, we had well over 600. So it has grown exponentially. People come out and they have a good time. And we have a good time interacting with the community and getting to know them and them getting to know us. And of course, someone gets a free TV out of it and a free gaming system. So it's been very, very good. We talk about things in the community that'll be going on, things as far as crime prevention. Some of the speakers that we have will usually be people from the community that have grown up maybe in an atmosphere of crime, gangs, and they've gotten out of it. And they relate to the youth what they went through and what it took for them to move on. So
you've definitely been able to mention some good results.
oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I have another one that I'm most interested in, that you spoke to it just a little bit, and that's about being transparent, being transparency. If that was you found to be an issue, if you were chosen to be the chief of police here, how would you address that?
How would I address transparency? Well, now when I say transparency, I mean this. Of course, there is a small percentage of incidents that take place where divulging information would be detrimental to the investigation or even to officer safety. That's a small percentage. But for the most part, information can be dispatched without the need for FOIA. Because listen, if you're not trying to hide anything, then there's no need to hold anything back. Once again, I say, how can a community trust this police department if the police department won't tell them the truth or hides things from them? You'll find that with transparency, Councilwoman, if you engage that and utilize that in your department, what will happen is this. When you tell your own story, no one else can tell it for you. No one else can tell it for you. If you withhold and withhold and withhold, people will start to imagine, and there'll be conjecture, and there'll be all types of things. But if you just simply tell the truth. Now, sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow because the truth isn't always good. But when you put it out there, like I said before, if we did something and it's not to the public's liking, if it was something wrong, then we need to own up to it. We need to own up to it, fix it, correct it, and move on. That's how I would handle it.
Any other questions, council?
Do you have any grant writing experience?
I have assisted with several grants. Now, can I elaborate a little? With grants are an excellent way to minimize the strain on a budget. While there are federal grants, state grants, there are also a lot of local grants. I understand that you have a Walmart now, there's Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, big box stores that give grants ranging anywhere from $2,500 to $25,000. The only thing is you just have to know who to reach out to, see what they require, know who to reach out to get the statistics that they need and they require, and then write the letter, submit it, and see what happens. A lot of times you'll be surprised at what you can get through local grants for items maybe such as ballistic vests or shields, tasers, a piece of equipment, maybe a radar device, anything. But it would, but yes, sir. And that could be something that is done, or have someone to assist you doing. But yes, sir, I would actively seek as many grants as possible. they're out there.
Long-term interest, if you do get this position, do you see this as a position for the long term? Is this 5 years, 5, 10?
I'm glad you asked me that. I do see this as a position for the long term. As you see, and as the gentleman in the back said before, 26 years of my career have been spent with Cheraw Police Department. I'm not a job hopper. I don't believe in going here and going there and going there and going here. Check my records, check me out. Darlington is the only place that I have applied to. I am not using Darlington as a stepping stone to further my career to go somewhere else. This is it. This is what I want to accomplish as chief of police. This is what I want to accomplish. Darlington, should I be afforded an opportunity to serve as chief, this will be my home, and I don't plan on leaving, with your blessing. So yes, it is a long-term aspiration for me.
Anybody else from council? One of the things you talked about when they asked about this 5 things as far as your vision, and you talked about training. Speak to me, or speak to us about what does that look like under your leadership as far as staff development and training?
As far as staff development and training, training is key to the growth of any police department. You have to, first of all, there are all types of training out there. What you would have to do, what I would have to do is sit down and assess the police department, the community, and the area to see what needs exist. Simply going to training for the sake of training is a waste of dollars. So what I would do is find out what areas we need more training in, whether it's drug prevention, gang-related activity, these type things, patrolling procedures. Find out what the necessities are, and then meet those necessities by tailoring a training regimen that would fit that. There's all types of training, and one thing about training, there's a lot of training out there that is free, that is done at no cost. That's something we need to take advantage of. But training does several things. It helps to maintain a proficient department, a professional department. It boosts morale, and you need it. You need it.
Anybody else? Captain Riley, I was very impressed with your resume, your leadership skills, your experience. I mean, you've covered a whole lot in 26 years. Your ability to talk to people, great. I feel compassion. I feel that you are truthful in what you're doing, and I love the transparency. We need that. And all of us got to learn how to communicate with each other. And that's very much needed in all police agencies. Well, wherever it is, not only dogs, but wherever. Anybody else? Mr. Garland?
Yes, ma'am. I don't like to touch on it much, but we had a death in the police department in 2011. Chief Jay Cox died suddenly. We had someone that he had been grooming for a while to take over, and that turned out to be Danny Watson. If you get this job as chief of police, one of the charges we would give to you is to groom someone to be your replacement. How do you feel about that, and what would you do to build leadership capability amongst the staff of the Darlington Police Department?
Well, if you have any concern at all about the police department that you serve as chief, then of course you want to make sure that should something happen to you unexpectedly, illness or sickness, none of us are promised tomorrow. You want to make sure that the police department will be in capable hands. Now, having said that, what I would do is extend an olive branch to anyone. If you say Captain Watson?
He was sort of Chief Watson, but he was captain under Jay Cox.
Extend the olive branch and continue to extend it. You have to include, and there has to be a certain level of inclusiveness with your staff. They have to know what's going on. They have to be a part of what's going on. Even as police chief, you're not an island. You need the help of everyone around you to make the department run the way that it should run. And I will continue to reach out and continue to foster and train and foster and expose them to as much as I could, whether it be him or whether it be someone else. that's only responsible. That's the responsible thing to do.
Well, thank you, Captain Rowland.
Thank you.
Kim has worn many hats in her years with DPD, including Public Information Officer, Victims Advocate, Community Outreach Organizer, and overseeing the SRO program, that's the School Resource Officer. Kim holds a postmaster's certificate in criminal justice from North Central University of San Diego, California, a Master's of Arts in Management Leadership from Webster University, a Bachelor of Sociology from Coker College, an Associate in Arts and Criminal Justice from Florence Darlington Tech. She volunteers through the Pine Club of Darlington to Teach Foundation and as a youth pastor at Nazareth Apostolic Church. Please welcome Lieutenant Kim Nelson.
Good evening. Good evening. Well, as most of you know, my name is Kimberly Nelson. I've been with the department since 1998. That's a little over 19 years from my calculations. I'm not sure, maybe I'm wrong. But I started out here, I went to the academy, and by being the size that I am, a lot of people didn't think that I was going to make it through the academy. But I made it. I worked myself up through the ranks. I think for my mayor, for all the city council members, the mayor pro tem, I just thank them for all of the support that they have given me over the years. They have been there for me as I rose through the rank, and I do know them. As I started out in the department, like I said, I worked with co-workers that didn't think that I'd be here this long. Well, I'm here. I started on third shift. When I came, I was from Dillon. Started on third shift, had no idea what Darlington was about. Started out, worked my way through Darlington. They would get on the radio and say, Kim, we need you on Alabama Street. Have no idea where Alabama Street is. What I did was they say improvise and overcome. I seen a taxi cab driver. I said, where's Alabama Street? He said, it's round that way. And I had a time limit, so I was able to make it over on Alabama Street. And, you know, just feeling my way through Darlington. Over the years, I have gotten to know a lot of people. I've built a lot of relationships here in Darlington. You've heard a lot of impressive people come up here with a long resume about what they've done, how they accomplished in their life. Well, I would like that same opportunity to advance my career. I would like that same opportunity to build new relationships with the citizens here in Darlington. I have worked my way up, as I said, started on third shift as a patrol. On bike patrol, it became, never rode a bike in my life, never had a bike. Bike patrol became open. I got on bike patrol down there at the fire department, jumped on the bike, and they was doing tricks and all this kind of stuff. Promise you, when I say I never rode a bike, I never rode a bike before. Got on the bike, riding the bicycle, up here on the square, I fell off the bicycle in front of everybody. Miss Lou, who was a dispatcher at the time, saw me when I fell off the bike. So I'm trying to hurry up and get my stuff together. Miss Lou starts yelling, yeah! I'm already embarrassed. She starts yelling, yeah! You dropped your gloves. I'm like, I'm gonna need them gloves. But she's like, you stop. If you know Miss Lou, you gonna stop and pick. I'm like, oh my God, Miss Lou. Okay, so I stopped and picked up the gloves and continued. And I said that to say this. It hasn't always been easy being a law enforcement officer and being a female. But what I've learned from one of my mentors is that hard work pays off. And if you work hard, it will pay off. And I've put my time in with the community here. And a lot of the ones that spoke before me, they said that they had to do an assessment of the police department. As I go in, and if I assume the role as police chief, I will look into things and see how things are ran and do it. But I have already a foundation of what needs to be done. And there are some things that needs to be done. And we need to work together to accomplish those things. Working together with council is one of my goals. working together with the city manager is one of my goals, to further this department to go to a whole nother level. In order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. I believe I was a good follower, and I think I'll be a good leader if I'm given the chance. I've had the opportunity to go to the school district and work with the school district, and I've met some wonderful people at the school district. And when I said I had the opportunity to go and work for the school district, I was asked to come there. Two of my passions are children and law enforcement. And children don't stay children forever. So when we're raising children, we're raising adults that are either going to be productive members of society or they're going to become non-productive members of society. My goal is to try to reach every child, to let them know that they are somebody, that they can affect society by doing positive things. And even if they made a mistake, it's not over. Give them an opportunity to say, listen, okay, I made a mistake. What can I do in order to do better? I talked with a young lady today at the high school. My sergeant was having some issues, and he called me over there. Talked with a young lady today. She's 15 years old, and she already has a child. And some situations happened, and she was involved with a fight. Her mother, just the day before, had came to my office in tears, crying, asking, what can you do to help me with her? And I gave her some solutions, but I really couldn't help her because at that point in time, there's no programs. And so she was like, well, you can't help until she gets into trouble. And at that time, I was like, no, there has to be something that I can do. So I began to call other agencies and try to figure out what could we do to help this young lady. Well, she was involved with another situation at the school, and she's getting ready to get expelled from school. But what I did, I sat her down and I looked her in the face and I said, sweetheart, it's not about you anymore. It's about that child that you have. You need to make some decisions right now. What are you going to do with your life? Because that child is going to be watching you. That child is going to want to be like their mom. You know, grandmother's good to have, but it's always wonderful to have that mother that's a positive influence in their life. One thing that I can bring to this department, or that I have brought to this department, is I've built a relationship through community policing. I have been out there, if you look at some of the pictures, I have been out there with certain programs that I have been allowed to start. One of the programs that I love that I was allowed to start was Project Intercept. And I was allowed to work along with the school district with that. When I did Project Intercept, it was a program that we did in the summertime, and it was with some children that were having some behavior and academic problems. We started that program at Santa Vista. We were able to pull up, well, I wanted to continue that program. We were able to pull up statistical data that actually showed that these children's behavior and grades had improved after finishing and completing this progress. And because of that statistical data, I was allowed to continue that program in Hartsville, and hopefully it'll even get bigger this year, as we have been doing some fundraising to raise money to get these programs and to help fund these programs. I also started another program called the Girls of Character in the school, and it started out with one school, what was Brunson Dargan, and then a parent called and said, well, Miss Kim, we need you to come out in the county at Rosenwald Elementary School. I'm like, I work in Darlington. I don't know if I can go to Rosenwald, but I was allowed to go to Rosenwald. And at Rosenwald, we're mainly focusing on academic. We're reading, math, and different things there. As in Brunson Dargan, we're doing character building. And what I've had is young men from the community that has come and spoken with these young ladies and implanted in them that they can be great women, that their environment does not dictate who they are or what they're going to be. And that they can do great things regardless of what situations or what bad things have happened to them. When I first met the girls of character at Rosenwald, Miss Bruce, she was there, I gave them a pack of tissue. And they were like, looking at the tissue, it's like, why did you give us some tissue? And I told them, I said, the reason that I'm giving you tissue is that bad things happen. Life is hard, but sometimes we just got to suck it up and move on. Dry our tears up and move on. And also during that time, or my tenure here, I had the opportunity to work with Passageway of Hope. Passageway of Hope was a institute or a program that was supposed to be for battered women. The young lady that was over that, she had some issues, so the project didn't go anymore, but that's one thing that I would like to start again. It was a women's shelter. I've been the victim's advocate for the police department majority for a while. When I left and went to the school district, Officer Blankley had taken over that position. Officer Blankley had come to some medical issues, and she had to leave that position, and I was asked to come back to the police department and help out with some things that had transpired. If I can somehow merge education and policing together, I would, and if I'm given that opportunity, that's what I will do. My officers, if I have an opportunity to meet my officers, someone talked about morale, building up morale. The most valuable thing, like the young man before me said, the most valuable thing in a police department are the officers. They are the ones, or we're the ones that get up every morning and decide to put on that uniform and come to work. To put our life on the line for someone. Not just someone, anyone pretty much. And when we do that, I need for them to understand that they're important and that I care about them, and I care about them going back home to their families. And that the way that I'm going to, or hopefully build that morale, is just communicate with them, have an open door policy, come in, let's talk about the situations. And one thing that I realize, that they are grown men and women. I have no business raising my voice or talking disrespectful to anybody at this police department. They're grown. What'll happen is, I'll voice my opinion to you, I'll let you know what's going on, and I expect you to treat me in that same manner. And we'll see, can we come to a conclusion or resolution to the situation. But I will treat you with respect, treat you with the honor that you deserve. The SRO, I worked in investigations, I worked on some cases. One case in particular was a couple of shootings that we had in the city. And one of the prosecutors said to me, it said, Kim, all of your victims are thugs. And I became offended when he said, all of my victims are thugs. My thing is, I don't care what you think about them. If somebody shot them or hurt them, they're a victim. And I'm going to defend them, investigate, find out who did it, find out, get them justice, just like I'll do anybody else in that street. And he looked at me. I said, when I put on this badge and gun, I didn't say I'm going to do this person right and do the other person a little bit different. No, I swore to uphold the law and treat everybody right. And that's my goal. That's my agenda. That's what I tried to do. Being a school resource officer, which I was, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of students, a lot of children that not only have I became part of their life, but they have become part of my life. If you look on the board, some of these kids, some of them graduated from Mayo, and some of them graduated from other schools. And I began to look back, and I look and I'm like, oh my God, somebody getting old. It ain't me. Because I look on this board and I see doctors, I see lawyers, I see dentists, I see nurses. All these young people up here were children, they were students, but they have gone on to impact the world. That's my goal. Not only that's my goal, I want that to be the officer's goal. When I talk to my SROs or talk to someone, I tell them, I said, every day you come in contact with someone or come in contact with a child, you are changing the world. You're changing the world. When you say something positive to someone, you are changing the world. And that's my goal. I might not be Wonder Woman or any kind of superhero, but my goal is to change the world. One person at a time. It doesn't matter who they are or what they are. It was one instance, we had a young man that had been arrested and had been released from jail. This happened recently. And he came up to the police department and he was saying that he didn't have a coat. And me and Lieutenant Blazak, we were discussing he didn't have a coat. And she was like, he ain't got a coat. I was like, well, we got to get him a coat. She said, get him a coat. I said, yeah, we got to get him a coat. So me and her were scraping up money to go and get him a coat. And so we went and got him a coat, and we bought the coat back to him. And he was like, y'all bought me a coat? Yeah, we bought you a coat, but you better not go out and do whatever you're going to do anymore. He was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. But the thing is, it doesn't matter who you are or what you are. My mother told me, you never know when you're going to need somebody.
That's right.
So you treat people with respect. You treat people with dignity. You treat people with honor. The officers here, we already treat people with dignity and respect. All we can do is grow even more. Regardless of who you are or what you are, when the officers meet you at Darlington Police Department, I want you to say, and I've had people tell me this, when you take them to jail, tell you, oh, I appreciate you. And I've had people tell me that, I appreciate you for taking me to jail, because you treat people the way you want to be treated. I have 2 boys that when they were younger, they were at McDonald's in Hartsville, and a situation happened. Police officers pulled over my boys, made my boys get out of the car and get on the ground, search them, and everything like that. My boys came home and they were so upset that this happened to them. Me and my husband began to have a conversation with them, and we told our boys, you handle it the right way. Let us take care of it. At that point in time, we were able to call Chief Kemp, and I had a conversation with Chief Kemp, and I said, Chief, this is what conspired to, my children were to the point where they said that they hated the police. I called Chief Kemp, and I explained to him what happened to my boys that were taken out of the car, and it was cold and placed on the ground. And come to find out, they didn't even meet the description of the young men that they were looking for. What I explained to my children is that they did the right thing by bringing it and letting me and my husband handle it. I called Chief Kemp on the phone, and I said, Chief Kemp, this is what happened to my children, and I don't appreciate it, that this happened to my children. Chief Tim Kemp told me, he said, Kim, I don't know exactly what happened, but he said, Kim, I will check into it, and I will find out what happened to your children. To me, that was a reaction that I needed to hear. I want it to be that when a person calls here at this police department and they have a complaint against one of my officers, I want them to feel assured that that situation will be handled and will be investigated. I don't know if he handled it or not or whatever happened, but he said the right words at the right time, right there. And that's the situation with everything that's brewing and going on at this time. A lot of people say, how are you going to stop your officers from harassing people? That was one of the questions that was proposed to me. By me knowing my officers that work here at Darlington, I haven't read a report that said that our officers were harassing someone. But if someone came and made that allegation that they felt harassed, of course I would investigate and find out what's going on. Figure out, I would let that person know that we will follow through and find out what's going on. Just like every National Night Out, that was one of the questions. We did National Night Out at one time. We had that. When I started, I got pictures of me where I did National Night Out, but for some reason it was stopped. So I'm a follower. So wasn't allowed to do it, but we did National Night Out. We had it in Pine Village, and we had a good turnout. And just like everyone else, I would like to be given the opportunity to grow here in Darlington. The school district is less than 5 miles away. I went there for a period of time, and I'm glad that I did because I gleaned so much information. I learned how to work with procurement. I learned how to work with budgets. I learned how to work with grants. And I had experience in grant writing. I had to write a grant for one of the programs that I did. I got to experience the classroom and safety for all the students, over 10,000 students in Darlington. I was responsible for the safety of those students. 1,700 teachers, staff, and faculty, I was responsible for their safety. And to go inside the schools and find out what our children needed. We had some areas in some of these schools that needed immediate attention, and I was able to bring that to their attention, and it was able to be corrected. So I thank God for that experience. I thank God for the opportunity that I have had here at Darlington, and I look forward to many more opportunities here at Darlington to grow. Thank you. Mr. Garland?
I'm going to ask this off right off the bat, and I look at you and everybody else in here. It's the question that's been most in my mind when I get approached by people. We need somebody from outside the department to be chief. Well, convince us why we should continue to hire from within the department since you're the last candidate left from within the department.
As some of you heard all the other candidates talk, they said that they had to come in and do an assessment of the police department to find out what's going on in the police department. I'm here in the police department. I'm here in the community. I know the people. I've been to the houses of the people. I've been in the community. I have been here. If given the chance to be a leader of this department, what I would say that we would do, we would even go further to bridge that gap with the community. We would get, one of the things that getting out of the cars. I believe that I have some officers here, and some of you sitting right here in this audience know that some of our officers here will give you the shirts off of their back. I've seen them give them the shirts off of people, off their backs. I've seen them take money out of their pockets and buy food for people. I've seen them go out of their way to take care of people. I want to continue to have that to grow. I know these officers by name already. You bring somebody from the outside, they're going to have to learn the officers by name. They're going to have to learn who's Johnny, who's Pop, who's this, who's that. They're going to have to, I know who that is already. I know some of the concerns already of the public. Give me an opportunity to correct those concerns. Give me an opportunity to say, I'm here. I get phone calls and says, Kim, my baby ain't got no milk. Okay, you ain't got no milk? Okay, let's find out what we're gonna do about it. I had one, we'll go buy your baby some milk. They know me, Officer Kim, my baby ain't got, if they don't know somebody from the outside, who are they gonna call? You might say that's minor things that don't, that matters. When you can have that open communication and they know you already, that matters. When someone can call you, I had a young lady that said, Officer Nelson, I can't get an apartment because of something that was on my record a long time ago. Can you help me? All it took was me a matter of a couple hours to find out or research what she needed in order to get her an apartment. And that's what I did. I know my officers. Do we have room to grow? Every department has room to grow. Every department has room to grow. Give me that opportunity to meet the needs of my officers and of my community. When you bring someone from the outside, they have to start all over. Help me, let me build, continue to make Darlington a wonderful place. This is a wonderful place to live. This is a wonderful place to come to work. Let me continue to make this place a wonderful place.
Okay, I think it's good that you're working to bridge the gap between the youth and the police department. If it goes the other way, it's not going to just affect the police officers, it's going to affect all the residents of Darlington County. And also, in your statements, in your talking, you referred to my officers. You didn't say the men. And then when the other gentleman said the men, you said, oh, well, that's just what I'm used to saying. So I think her thinking is more open-minded and covers all the residents of Darlington County, not just an old way or something that he's used to saying, and he has to come here and change it. And also, well, he already asked questions. I was going to ask you about what you bring to the community, so I guess that's it.
Yes. Yeah, no one saying anything about the crossing guards. I was a crossing guard on Main Street on the bus. Crossing guard got a tree. It all get rained on, snowed on. And I did went to 19 degrees. I was also the crossing guard for the county. I did middle school. I got cussed at, cussed out, all kinds of things. I had an incident where this car like hit me, and I fight the car with my sign and broke the sign up. I turned, somebody got the license tag, but when I looked at the lady, she was just the whitest paper. But when she came back, she was black and blue. Just thought the skirt would get that bad. They ran the car down and got the license tag on. I took it to someone here. What did you do? Now it took him, I went to him about 2 days after. I went to him 2 weeks after. I went to him Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving I said something I can't say here. But we just buried my cousin up in Red Spring, North Carolina, and just got hit by a car now, walking on the street. What would you do if I bring you the license tag on?
What I would do, and I can't speak for the county, I don't know what they had, but for the city, every employee here in Darlington City, whether you work on a trash truck, whether you crossing guard, whoever you are important. And it would be our job, if you felt that you were almost hit and you were that upset, it's our job to find out who that person is, to follow up and to let you know that, or let them know that that will not be tolerated. And that they're gonna have to give an account for their actions.
Even I had people that were kids at that time, I knew they grown now. They would always talk about help, but nobody.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We'll try to make sure that it follows up and that you will get some results from it.
I just want to say that I know you to be one of the most ethical, enthusiastic, committed people I know. I had the privilege of working with you in the school district, and I was probably a part of the group that really wanted to bribe you to stay. Because you're so awesome in so many ways. But I think probably what brings me the greatest assurance is the fact that I know you abide by the philosophy. The greater love hath no man than this, but that he lay down his life for a friend. I know in your heart it is not just a job. It's not just a vocation. And I would ask that you speak to this group because I know they hear your enthusiasm and your passion. But because we understand who your real CEO is, speak to your calling.
My Lord.
Amen.
Was that a question out there? You about to make me have church up in here. higher power is God, and that's where I get my strength from. I would not be here if it had not been for the goodness of the Lord.
Amen.
And I would seek Him. And even going into this and putting in my application, I spoke to my young people at church Sunday. No surrender, no retreat. No surrender, no retreat. Life, this has been so stressful going through this process. And I had to tell myself, no surrender, no retreat. Go forth, do what I need to do. Stay focused on the job at hand and accomplish the goal that I need to accomplish. And that is only done by the grace of God. Amen.
Yes, sir.
Kemp, I don't know whether I could follow that answer. But I do want to commend you on a very fine presentation tonight. Some of the things that I wanted to ask you, you've already answered. But I want to ask this one question here. If you became the chief of the Darlington Police Department, would you be the chief and not be able to have nobody to influence you on your decision making?
I made the comment earlier. I was a good follower. I was a good follower. Now it's time for me. If I get the opportunity, I will be a good leader. And being a good leader is making decisions not only to help the citizens of Darlington, but to be able to say, I made those decisions. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm going to have to be accountable for those decisions that I made. When I'm the city manager, I have to say, this is the decision that I made, this is why I made it. Whoever think that they can influence me, they're not going to be here. I'm going to be the one with the city manager. The city manager is going to have to present that information to the mayor and to the city council. If I'm going to make that decision, I'm going to make that decision.
Great.
I'm capable of making that decision on my own. Will I listen to other, my people that work at my department and get their opinions on things? Of course I will. But at the end of the day, the decision is mine. I'm accountable for it.
Evening. I'm very excited because I was waiting for my babies and the mom to come get my granddaughter to be here. And I'm here from the bottom of my heart. I just want to speak on behalf of two people. Kimberly, I had an incident, and it was a very serious thing. And I can truly admit, I was getting ready to kill someone. I was so depressed. I was aggravated. I was going to the pawn shop to get the gun. And I was going to kill them because they were bombing me. So I thought that I'd come up here to talk to Kimberly, and I really thought she was going to give me something I needed here in my ear to help me, not them. And so I told her the situation. And this is what she told me. She said, she said, don't say that to me, because I can't arrest you right now. Are you lock me up? I can lock you up. That is, you came and told me you're going to kill somebody, and I got to lock you up so you won't kill nobody. But say this, I'm so happy that Kim is not only a police officer to me, she is a very, very unique woman that I can describe that I've never seen some people here, and a real, real friend. And she will not take side for nobody.
That's right.
I don't know who you are, what color you are,
That's
what's
right.
your name. Wrong is wrong, and I know.
Right.
And Kimberly does that.
That's right.
Now let me touch on the officer. I love the officer
Me too.
with all my heart.
I do too.
And I believe in my heart, the officers have their job to do, but we as the community got to have our job to do. When you call the officer up to come wherever, you need to have respect too. When they ask you something, you don't get all stupid. Talk that human being and the job will get done. And another thing, stop lying on the officer. Stop lying. If I did something, the officer I did it, okay, officer, I've done it. I'm sorry. You can take me to jail or you can give me a ticket. Well, how we gonna work this thing out? And these officers do care about. They don't know me by Sue. They know me by the little old lady. And I'm not lying. And I'm not saying this because I know this, because God will put underneath my line. I ain't been lying for nobody. I'm telling the truth. I feel in my heart that Kimberly will be a good chief for the community. And Lord knows I'm so used to helping me. And by the grace of God, through Jesus Christ, I believe in my heart, through Jesus Christ, she will get the job done. I don't do favor things. I know and I love these police officers too. But I don't do favor things. I'm saying what's coming from my heart.
Exactly.
My heart.
Exactly.
Because I got to go home and lay down tonight. I got to talk to God tonight about what I see. Because there's too much dirty stuff going on, and we need righteous stuff now.
That's right.
Stop all this mess. That's why the community can't be blessed.
Preach.
I don't care who you are. Let's get the job done with the officer. If it did it, tell the officer. My mama told me a long time ago, she dead gone. If you don't got caught, then might well tell the truth, because you already caught now. I'm not standing in the they nobody like me. And Wayne Bird, my baby over there. I love him all my heart. And he is a very special person in my life. So y'all put my feelings in the Lord and make the right decision. Let God guide you. Listen at his voice. And his voice is very soft. He's a spirit. John Miller, you know I love you. You go home and do what you gotta do. Because I believe my baby right there in the challenge. That's my dog right there too. So I'm just gonna sit down. I in the Lord. She made the Lord, I can't sit down. But just put my spirit in the Lord. I love you.
I'd like to say, my name's Michael August. I work for the Darlington Police Department. The only thing I disagree with Kim on is she's saying that she's given the chance. She's earned the chance.
I just want to say that one of the most important things in a position like this is the ability to form relationships. Form relationships with the community, form relationships with your officers, and build on those. And I think you have more than demonstrated your capacity to build strong, positive relationships. My babies, that are now 24, were fortunate to be some of your babies. And you influenced their lives and made a big difference. And you jerked the knot in there, you know, when they needed it, you know, that kind of thing. But I think, number one, relationships. I want to point that out. And the second thing is courage. It takes courage to lead. It takes courage to make those hard decisions. And it takes a lot of courage to do the job that you would be tasked to do. And I think you certainly have both those attributes.
Well, I'd just like to say that I've known you since probably right after you came to Darlington. And I know from experience what she's saying, because we had two girls that gave us a fit. We had two boys that were pretty good, but we had two girls that gave us a fit. And she didn't mince words when she came to speak with them. And the girls started looking at me. I was, So, I mean, I applaud you for applying for the job. I would like to say that I would like to see you get the job. Because I feel like you said, you already know what's going on in the community, where somebody else coming in has to learn the people of the community. And I would just like to say that I can see by the officers here the respect that you already have of a lot of the officers, if not all of the officers already on the police department. And I don't think I could honestly say that I've had a bad experience with any of them. And I've spoken with several of them. I know, I can't remember your name, but he gave me a ticket. And I, but you know, what do you do? Like the lady said earlier, I was driving down the road and I didn't have my seatbelt on. So he walked up and he said, you know why I stopped you? I said, no, sir. I said, but I know I wasn't speeding. He said, but you're not wearing a seatbelt. I just hand license and registration. So, but there are some good officers here. I would like to see, I guess, I've seen there's been some turnover. I would like to see a little more retention, and I feel like that's something that you have a leg up on because you've been here. You know what it's going to take to keep them. And I'd just like to thank each and every one of the officers that are here for the job that you do, because it's not easy.
Amen.
If it was, everybody would do it. And you guys get up and you put on this uniform each and every day, not knowing whether you're going home at night or not. And I'd just like to say, I appreciate it. I get to talk to Paul, several times a day, because I walk my dogs and he's at St. John. But like I said, each and every one of these officers do a very good service to this community. And you have done a very good job in this community for a long time, a long period of time. I wasn't here to hear the guys last night, but the guy before you, he gave a pretty good interview. But I'm just saying, I think that with the interview you gave and the fact that you already know what's going on here, I would like to see Kim have an opportunity to have a chance at leading this department.
I'm sorry. I'm going to you to stand.
Oh, no. Danny Watson did a great job through social media of opening the front doors of the Darlington Police Department and allowing the community a sneak peek inside of what y'all do every day. And I think that one thing that made Danny different than other departments is that he not only promoted the positive, but he admitted the negative. Is that something that you would subscribe to? And if so, will you continue that for the police department?
One of the things that the mayor headed on to, she wanted transparency. I have no other way but to be transparent. I forget stuff, so I can't lie. I mean, I can lie. Everybody got his mouth to lie, but I forget stuff too much to lie. So I have to be transparent and tell the truth. So yes, I will continue that transparency and continue the social media. Social media is a good thing to work through because the last incidents that we had at Walmart shoplifting, I posted it on social media and we got a lot of hits. Actually, we got warrants on the people that were shoplifting, and people respond to a text. They will respond to a text and they will respond to something on Facebook. So yes, I will.
Well, I just think before Danny did that as people who probably do not interact with your officers on a daily basis, we have no clue what you do. And once he started that, it was nice to see that you have this case going and that you're asking for help and you're doing things. And I do hope that you will continue that.
I will continue that.
As an educator in Darlington, I know firsthand the work you've done, like you were speaking about with the school district. If you are given the position of chief, do you plan to encourage your officers to continue this relationship with the children? Because, often our children are afraid, but I know a lot of them feel open enough to come to you or talk to you. And what can we do to keep that relationship going? Because you'll have so many hats, if you become chief, that you won't be able to dedicate as much time to that. Will you put something in place to ensure that continues?
Thank you. I got excited, so I almost talked over you. Being a leader, you have to paint the vision for your officers. One thing, I heard the mayor speak at opening, she was talking about domestic violence, and she was talking about how the real victims in domestic violence situations are the children. Imagine if that officer already has a relationship built with that child when he walks into that home and finds out that mom and dad has been fighting and there's some form of violence that has taken place, and that officer walks into that room and that child face lights up because, oh, this is someone I already know. So one of my goals, or one of my things that I want my officers to buy into, I want them to start going into these schools. I want them to start interacting, not just the SROs that's already there. While you're patrolling and you have time, stop by the schools, interact with the children. When I first started at the police department and I seen children playing that's how I learned half of my kids, playing football or basketball. I got out of my car, played basketball with my boots on and all that played basketball, played football with them, got to know them. And when things happen, you see what size I am, you see how I am. When I would go to situations and it would be bad situations, these kids that I built relationships with pretty much protected me and said, oh no, you ain't gonna treat her like that. You ain't gonna, and had calmed things down. Why? Because I had already built that relationship with them. If we as a police department can build relationship with the community, and we walk into a situation and they see our face and see our demeanor, we can calm things down by our mere presence. And so I want to continue to build that relationships in the schools. Don't wait till you get home, get to that situation. Already built, because that child is traumatized enough in that situation. But when you walk in there and you say, oh man, I'm sorry that you have to go through this. What's going to happen? We're going to take care of this right here. Just sit over here for a minute and let me take care of this, and then I'll talk to you. That child says, oh, okay, they really are. They're not just shooting me smoke. They really are going to come, and they really are going to take care of it. Build that relationship with the community, the students, and the parents.
Anybody else know?
Just one more. I look over the resumes here, and they're all equally impressive. And about 100 cumulative years of police work. One thing that really stands out in yours, and you mentioned it, is your involvement with victims advocate and being a victims advocate. And if that doesn't convince anybody in the room of her dedication and her commitment to equality, when she's willing to take that stance of no matter who you are, you're all equal and you're all going to be treated equal. That should be the one convincing thing for everybody in this room to make a decision. So I just want to applaud you for putting that in your resume.
I remember being in 6th grade, and we were being introduced to our dare officer, who was Officer Kim. And it was the highlight of 6th grade for me, that Officer Kim would come every week and talk to us about being drug-free. Fast forward several years later, and I'm at Mayo High School, and Officer Kim became Mama Kim. And I was one of her many children that she has influenced throughout the years, myself and my sisters. Now fast forward several more years, and I teach for Darlington County School District. And Mama Kim keeps up with me, even as a teacher. When my nieces were born, here she is knocking at the door with gifts, because she knew that Riley Kendall had been born. She keeps up. I think, it says it takes a village to raise a child. And I think this town and this city would be lucky to have someone leading that village like Kimberly Nelson.
Yes, ma'am.
Got one back here.
Kim's in the Pilots Club with some of us ladies in this room, and I just want to know if you'll still mix the full cakes if you become chief.
Yes, ma'am, I still work at a full I have flour all in my hair. And one of the candidates was like getting your feet on the boots on the ground and working and doing. I think that this community as a whole, I've seen the mayor, I've seen different city council members at events that we hold here in the city. I've seen them interacting with the community. Can we grow stronger? Of course we can. So of course I will be out there at the Pilot Club meetings. And when we do those mixtures, the funnel cakes and all that, all of that money that we raise goes toward scholarships and brain binders for people with brain injuries.
Anybody on council?
My name is J. Mac Eastland. I've known Officer Kim for a long time. We used to be the same height. And now I'm a productive member of society. It hadn't always been that way. There's been times where I was found on the wrong side of the law, and Officer Kim's actually found me there. But I gave her a hard time at the time, but she was firm, fair, and just. I think she'll continue to do that, no matter the situation, if given the opportunity. Anybody can do the right thing when it's easy. But when things are hard, that's when you need somebody to really stick to your guns. I've always had a great respect for Officer Kim, no matter if we saw eye to eye at the time or not. Thank you.
I'm not good with words, and I don't like to say, I don't say much. I'm kind of quiet. But she's my supervisor over SROs. She always had my back, and she always had an open door policy with me already as a supervisor. And I know she will have it as a chief. When I had problems with my family, I went to Kim and she was there. I had problems with my kids in the school, she was there. When I came to Kim 3 years ago, when I first started at Brunson Dargan and said I wanted to start a program for the young boys at Brunson Dargan, Kim said, go ahead. She let me do it. Kim always been by, she always had my back in everything I did. I think she would be a great chief for Darlington. She knows what goes on in Darlington. She knows the people in Darlington. She knows the kids around here. Not saying from anybody else, any other candidate, what I heard up here, they were great. But Kim knows everybody already. And I think bringing somebody in from the outside, I don't think that's a good idea because she already knows what's going on in this department. Exactly. And she knows what she needs to fix and what she needs to go, what needs to go, yeah, I can't even talk right now. But Kim always been that officer. If I needed somebody to talk to, she always been there. Yeah, my other supervisors and everybody else, they've been there too, but I always went to Kim and she always had my back on anything I needed. So I think she'd be a great chief for Darlington.
And you
I'd just like to make a statement. Kimberly came to the police department back, I started in '95 and she came shortly after. I've seen her work her way up from patrolman through the ranks and up to lieutenant. I've seen her help people out of her own pocket. I know that she has a heart of gold for blacks, whites, whoever. And that's what we need. We need more love, more compassion for people. And she has that. And she has been here. And if you cannot give a person, and like they said, all the other candidates were great. Yesterday when Mr. Washington was talking, I was about to pass the collection plate. But to say, they're all great, but like he said, no matter who it is, council is going to have to work with them. Y'all going to have to work together. And the relationship is already there to build on. And I would say, if she's already put herself in a position, she's got her education, she's qualified. So if you've been to a department and you're qualified, and they don't give you a chance, that's a slap in the face to every employee for the city. That you can be qualified, and you can be able to do the job, but they'll look over you.
Amen.
That would be a disgrace to all of your employees for the city. And I just ask y'all to think about that. And if you can't grow within your own department, that would be kind of sad.
Yes, it will.
Kimberly. those of you, Councilwoman Elaine Reed that represents Ward 2. We've had such great things. The presentation was superb. And just knowing you, I know that you are a good officer and a good person. But the reality is that we have a problem here in Darlington, in the Darlington Police Department, simply in view of the impromptu resignation of the chief. I've heard you describe the situation with your son, with your family. Commonplace. It's not out of the ordinary. And these things I want to hear because these problems that exist here, we cannot, as a council person, I cannot ignore and understand that at some of the time you were in this. How now do you plan to, can you just give us some idea as a chief how you can resolve? And I want to, because this is the second question. If by some chance you're not the one chosen, how would you be able to continue to do what you said that you were able to do?
Well, the first part of the question, you said that there's some issues in Darlington
Yes.
Police Department. I would need to know the specific issues because I'm not privy to everything that had happened in.
No, just noting that the fact that you are running, that you have, and you're applying for the chief indicates that that's a situation because it was impromptu. It wasn't, it came out of the blue.
Makes some sense.
She's talking about him resigning?
No. I'm talking about the fact that we are trying to select a police chief in view that it indicates that we do have situations here that we cannot be naive and to say just, and I use your example of the situation with your children. It's commonplace. I don't know whether that some of the treatment, every officer in Darlington Police Department is not as sweet and nice and treat everybody that way because we get there. So, and because you are the person here who say that your experience here, your presentation, is saying that you know it, you know what the situation is, that you would be the best choice. I simply want you to be able to give me something as to how that you will address those.
Say, for instance, if a situation happens or that has happened that an officer has been accused of police brutality toward a citizen. What we have now, as you know, we have cameras, body cameras on. First of all, that officer should have that body camera on when he goes to that situation. If he has that camera on, we'll review that tape, we'll find out what's going on. If that officer is in the wrong in the way that he treats an individual, that will not be tolerated. It cannot be tolerated. That not only taints the police department, but it taints the community's perception of the police department. That has to be handled. It will not be tolerated. As a leader, I cannot allow that to go on. When that situation happened with my son, the way he told me that he did and that he was going to handle it, I want to be that police chief that handles it. Not just telling you what you want to hear on the phone. I want to be that police chief that handles that situation, that sends a message to my officers that that kind of behavior will not be tolerated for any individual, regardless of who they are.
Those are the kinds of things that I want because we cannot go around it with
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will not go around with
everything is peaches and cream.
Change.
Let's respect the people who's talking.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I did ask.
You have a second part to that one.
Yeah, the second part.